So after painting the butterflies, I'm going to paint the branches or the vines and the leaves. So first, I'm going to show you how to uh, deal with those smudges. In Filipino language, we call them yung mga lagpas. Those, the paint which um, went beyond the parts that I wanted to be painted. So since my base color is black, I'm going to get my black paint. There's my black paint. Black. Okay, here. Here is my black paint. I'm going to get some. And with the brush, oh, I still have some here at on my cardboard. And with a tiny brush, I would do some retouching. I just cover it with paint there to remove those smudges, to cover those smudges there. No, it's almost gone. Okay. Okay. No more smudges on this butterfly, near the butterfly. Now I'll work on this small one. So you just get a small brush, a fine brush. You know, yesterday while I was narrating stories of how things were when I was in elementary, I told you that way back 1970s, the global warming was unheard of. And when it's this December or sometimes late November, it would start getting cold, and the cold spell would continue till February. Now it's just a few weeks, and there was a time even just a few days, less than a week. And during that time, there were more butterflies. I remember having lived in a subdivision way back 1973, and there were fewer houses in that subdivision during that time, and there were lots of tall grasses in front of our house and in vacant lots. And during that time, there was an abundance of butterflies and dragonflies. And mom used to plant flowers like hollyhocks, gladioli, daisies, roses, uh, lots of zinnias. Okay, zinnias are butterfly magnets, and beautiful butterflies would drop by our garden, would flutter, uh, drink some nectar, and I would catch them with a net. Okay, now after retouching, I'm going to color the leaves. Okay, leaves in the vine. The vine, usually the vines are greenish brown. So I'm going to paint the vine green also, and then once dried, I will be dry brushing it with bronze or copper. So let's start with the leaves. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use maybe 2 or 3 colors on the leaves. I'll start with a darker shade, a lighter shade, and then later on, I'm going to add some pearl finish and some touches of gold so that it would look a bit metallic, but not as metallic as the butterflies. Okay, so let's take a look again at the butterflies. You know, last time I was planning, they're just plants. I have some gemstones, you know, those plastic rhinestones. Maybe, I'm not sure, I might put some gemstones on the wings of the butterflies, like spots, to make them sparkle a bit, but I'm not sure yet. I still have to see uh, what the outcome will be. Now let me choose. I'm choosing a brush depending on the size of the leaf. Now I'm going to start with the big leaves first. Let's open this one. Oh, this is, I just bought it 2 days ago. So it's still sealed. Okay. If you have a palette, oh, there. If you have a palette, you can use a palette. I do have a palette because I'm going to make that palette like an art piece. So I'm not using it yet. So I'm using this cardboard because instead of throwing this cardboard away, I would like to use it as a palette. Okay, so I'm going to use this green. I'm going to paint the larger leaves. I have this large leaf here. Okay, I'm going to paint it dark green. And then later on, once dried, I'm going to add some lighter shades of green. I'm going to put my glasses on because all of it is black. So it's quite difficult to see there. You can notice this one here is a satin leaf, and there are parts that are elevated or embossed. So what I'm going to do is cover it first with dark green, and then later on I would dry brush it with a lighter green. You will see the effect later. Let's see there. Now let's look at the other big leaves. I'm going to start with the bigger leaves because I have this brush already, which is just right for the bigger leaves. And then I'm going to use thinner brushes for the thinner or the smaller leaves later on. I'm going to let the dark green paint dry up first before I add the lighter shade of green. Way back 2000, my sister and my youngest brother got involved in the export business, and there were clients from US and Europe who ordered baskets. When it's Christmas time, the decor would be like the holly leaves and the red berries. So there, I tried helping. I learned techniques from the artists working that time. Okay, so I think there's another big leaf here. Okay. You know, green is my favorite color. I grew up with plant-loving parents, both my mom and dad. Mom loved taking care of roses. When I was young, she would plant roses and daisies and some. She planted seeds and bulbs from the highlands because, as I was saying, way back 1970s, the temperature was lower, so it was colder. And some of the seeds she got from the highlands would grow in the lowlands. Now it's almost impossible. It is still possible, but you know, For example, the gladioles that would grow in the highlands would have uh, a stalk with a long stalk filled with flowers, but in the lowlands, they would bloom. The gladioli bulbs would bloom once they mature, the plants mature. However, uh, the stalk containing the flowers would be, yeah, it's the same. It's still long, but with less flowers. Unlike in Baguio City, there's a city here in the Philippines called Baguio. It's higher in elevation than in Manila. Let's say this is the gladioli plant, and the flower stalk would be filled with flowers from the base of the stalk up here. My mom, because we lived in the lowlands, would have flowers only halfway. Okay, so that's the difference between the plants growing in the highlands. There are many plants here in the Philippines in the highlands that are I see only in videos and pictures on YouTube, online, flowers that grow in colder countries like the US and Europe. So they would thrive in Baguio, but not much in Manila. Okay, so I'm now working on the smaller leaves. And I'm trying to make it light. Okay. I'm going to color also these like buds since I'm here, but I'm going to make the color of these buds lighter and more metallic later on. Okay. To make them stand out and be different from the color of the leaves. Okay. After the leaves are painted, I would be working on the flowers last. For sure that would take a long time because like this flower here with lots of petals, for sure it would take a long time. Okay. Let's see the leaves. Are there lots of butterflies where you live? What colors do they have? I miss having butterflies in the garden. They said that to have butterflies, you have to plant butterfly magnets or plants which produce flowers which butterflies love, like zinnias, lantanas. You can look it up on the internet. Uh, we Google butterfly magnets or plants that are butterfly magnets, and you will find them. Okay, so I'm coloring the vines and the buds. Later on the buds, I will be uh, dry brushing them with gold and some copper to make them shiny. Now, if there would be smudges again, you know already what to do. You just retouch them with black paint. It is my first time to do a project with black background and many colors because before I would just use black and then dry brush it with bronze, gold, silver, um, some, let's call this, shades of green, the pearl green, and that would be enough, and it would look metallic already. But now I'm using different colors, so this is quite challenging for me. So painting this takes a longer time. But now you can see where the branches are. And the buds. The flowers, I'm planning to paint them different colors, like some red. You know, I was looking at this paint tube I have. It's wine. Wine is like, this is pearl wine. It's like brownish red, but it's almost dried up. But I think I can still get some at the base. So I'll be cutting it up later with scissors. So at least now we can see where the leaves are. And the buds too. And the vines. I think I have covered all of the leaves. I can still see some petals. Remember yesterday I told you that you can remove this lower, the base petals, if you want the flowers, the paper flowers, to be smaller. I placed one here and another somewhere here. So I'm going to change their colors too. What is this? Okay, this is a vine. Okay, there's a vine here. Okay, so now we have the leaves. Oh, there's one more leaf I missed. Okay. And the bud. And so if in case your mom or your sister or your aunt or relatives have, what do you call it, these, the artificial flowers in vases, and then they don't need them anymore, you can, maybe you can ask for them. Sometimes our neighbors would just throw them away. You can pick them up and reuse them. Okay. So I have colored all of the leaves and the vines, I think. Yeah. Yeah, all of the leaves are covered. Okay? So here they are, covered. Now I'm going to add, I have a glass of water here. I have an old shirt which has a hole. So instead of table napkin, I'll be using this now to dry my brushes. Now, after that, I'm going to let it dry a bit. Okay, dry a bit. I'll use a lighter shade of green. This I learned when we got involved in the export business, using different shades. I hope it works here too, because before, the ones we painted were not fabric but resin, epoxy. Okay. So I'm going to use a lighter green to make. Okay, let's look at this leaf here. Let's see if it does. Right. Okay. I'm going to there. Yeah, so now the parts that are embossed have a lighter shade, and the ones that are sunken would have a darker shade. Okay, so now you see the leaf. Some parts are dark, some parts are light. Okay. So I'm going to do that with the other. So now my leaves are two-toned, light and dark. You can also use this. Let's say you want to make, instead of flowers, you use nuts. And then because it's autumn, you can change the color. Autumn colors. You know what the autumn colors are for those of you living in places with four seasons. The autumn colors are more on the browns and the reds and the ochre, the yellows. Mhm. I didn't cover all of the leaves with the light green. Just those surfaces that are uh, like embossed. Okay. Okay. It's better to let the leaves dry up first very well, so that uh, you could see the effect more. The vines too. Okay. once I add the pearl green and the gold, oh, the leaves would really look much better. They would look like, like magical, like touched by pixie dusts, fairy pixie dusts. Although, I don't believe in fairies, just stories, fairy tales. Because no one has really seen them. Some claim to have seen fairies, some post videos, and then others would say, oh, those are uh, edited or CGI. So I just discovered a leaf that I missed. So I'll be painting one leaf later. Okay. Let me see. Maybe there are vines that I missed. Okay, the vines and the bulbs that I missed. As I was saying, it's better to, let's say, after applying the dark green, let that dry up well before applying this. But because this is a DIY video and I have to work fast, I'm skipping some of the drying part. But still, I got the effect that I wanted. But it's much better when it's drier. Okay. Now let me show you. Okay, I'll let this dry a bit. Now, so you see now, the leaves are two-toned. There are parts of the leaves that are darker green, and then there are parts that are lighter. Okay? And I have the buds too. Now I'm going to let this dry, and then after that I'm going to use this or maybe this new paint I found. It's pearlescent. This is also pearl green, but this is pearlescent green. I'm going to compare how they look like, but I think this is darker. I'm going to use one of these and then add some gold, some light, dry brushings of gold on the leaves, and then some dry brushings of bronze to the vines. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to let this dry a bit, but at least you have seen the effect. I'm going to color one leaf that I missed. I'm going to color also the underside of this leaf here, so that when it gets spray painted, everything is colored. Okay, so I'll see you later. Once I return, I'll show you this has already the pearl green, and then I'll show you the effect when I apply the gold and the bronze. It will have an effect like the butterflies here with some textures of gold. Okay, so see you in a while.